Welcome to Great Companies, Great Leaders. I'm your host, Christine Gannon. I'm the founder of Brightworks Consulting. And every week we take a few moments to interview key thought leaders across different industries to learn about their perspectives on leadership and what makes a leader and a company great. And this week we are so honored to spend time with Dr. Amanda King. She's the Vice President of Software Services at Axon. So a little bit about Axon before we get into our interview. Axon is a technology leader in global public safety, designing technology to change the world. And specifically, Axon is building the public safety operating system of the future by integrating a suite of hardware devices and cloud software solutions that lead modern policing. The Axon suite includes TASER, which I love, energy devices, body-worn cameras, in-car cameras, cloud-hosted digital evidence management solutions, productivity software, and real-time operations capabilities. And we're going to break all that down. Axon's growing global customer base includes first responders, federal, state, and local law enforcement, fire, corrections, and emergency medical services, and more. Axon has a moonshot goal to cut gun-related deaths between police and the public by 50% before 2033. And I'm hoping it's sooner than that, as I'm sure you are too, Amanda.
Absolutely.
They're convening a coalition of industry, law enforcement, and community organizations to assist. Behind Axon's mission is an exceptional group of sharp, adaptable, and unstoppable team members located both here in Arizona and in 12 nations. And worth noting, Axon has received numerous local and national awards, with the most recent award being one of Arizona's most admired companies. And on a national level, Axon received the Great Place to Work certification, where 87% of employees say that Axon is a great place to work. And I had the pleasure of taking a tour a few weeks ago with your colleague, Matt Caldwell, and what a phenomenal office in Scottsdale. Just amazing. And I know you're building a new one, and I can't wait to see that, but it was pretty impressive.
It is unique as we are as a company. It's fantastic.
Yes. Dr. Amanda King served in the U.S. Army, the 101st Airborne Division Air Assault in the early 2000s. She deployed to Operation Iraqi Freedom from 2005 to 2006, and then again as a civilian contractor from 2009 to 2010. She spent 17 years in the aerospace and defense industry, transitioning 2 years ago to public safety technology as the VP of Software Services at Axon. In her free time, Amanda enjoys serving the veteran and law enforcement communities, doing STEM activities with her two boys, spending time with her husband, who she calls Captain America, as he's a Master Gunnery Sergeant in the Marine Corps Reserve for 30 years, wow, and protects our community as an Arizona Highway Patrol officer. Amanda, welcome. We're so honored to have you here.
Thank you, Christine. It is truly a pleasure to be here with you today.
So Amanda and I actually have a history together because she and I sat on the Arizona Corporate Council for Veteran Careers when it very first started. So it's good to be back together with you.
It is. Yes. Thank you so much.
Let's talk a little bit about your role as a leader. Where did you start once you became a veteran? Where did you start? And now that you're at Axon, how's your career shifted and changed?
That's a great question. I started after the military, working actually for a very short stint in the elevator industry. Great organization, but I recognized that it was hard for me to wake up in the mornings and really get motivated about the mission. And I got a call one day from an aerospace company, and they said, "Hey, would you like to go back to Iraq?" So I said, "Sure, that sounds great." I was also living in Chicago, and then the next winter was coming, and I'm not sure I'm cut out for Chicago winters. So I packed up my bags and I went off with this aerospace and defense company, and spent a few more years as a civilian contractor in the Middle East, supporting the Operation Iraqi Freedom efforts. And so it was really great, I think, transition out of the military. And I led, I was an individual contributor for a while, and then I led a large team. And it really helped me understand, kind of who I wanted to be as a leader outside of the uniform. And so I started to kind of form and frame what that meant to me. And then I was able to move back to Arizona with that same company, and I spent several years here in Arizona and in a variety of different roles and leading different sizes and types of teams. And and I was able to really kind of find that, who am I every day when I wake up as a leader, whether it's as an individual one-on-one, whether it's leading people that maybe I don't even officially lead, whether it's leading myself through some precarious situations or leading large teams in a really structured environment. And then Axon called one day out of the blue, and as you noted, my sweet Captain America husband, one of his uniforms is as a police officer, and so they gave me this opportunity to, potentially help serve these incredible missions that Axon has. And it was just something that I couldn't pass up. And I said, yes, I don't know what you want me to do, but I'm in. Let's talk about the job. So that's kind of what led me here to Axon and with this extraordinary team that I now get to lead here.
Well, they are fortunate to have you. I know you're a tremendous leader and you bring such high levels of integrity and compassion with you. So they're a fortunate crew to have you.
Thank you, Christine.
So, Amanda, let's
Yeah,
talk
please,
about.
Amanda. Dr. King just sounds weird.
Okay. So Axon's current charge, when we talk about the mission of Axon, how does that complement the journey that you're on in terms of the moonshot? I mean, that's a pretty big goal. And again, I'm hoping it's before 2033, but that's a pretty big goal.
That's right. It's almost a goal that you think, how possibly could we get there? But how possibly could we have imagined getting to the moon in the 60s? I mean,
Right.
it's and so I do equate. I love that we call it the moonshot because I really equate it to that. And when I joined Axon 2 years ago, our mission was and is really founded in three core areas. So we protect life, and that is the number one thing that we think about every day. I jokingly tell people sometimes that I'm convinced Netflix is going to have like a mini series about our little cult culture here because we just obsess over protecting life. The second pillar of our mission has always been to preserve truth, and that's something that I think we've seen society shift and have a new expectation to see, imagery and footage of things that are happening. And so, preserving the truth has become important not only to communities, but certainly to law enforcement agencies as well. And so I think that pillar has become absolutely foundational. And then the third pillar is accelerating justice. And, I think anyone who's had any sort of insight into our criminal justice system knows that there are plenty of opportunities to accelerate things, to be more efficient. And, with now, many agencies facing a shortage in staffing, we're able to create these efficiencies that allow the police officers that they have to be more efficient in what they do and get out there in the communities and protect the communities that they're out there to protect. So when you think about those three pillars, to protect life, to preserve truth, to accelerate justice, and then you layer on this unbelievable moonshot, which is where we are going to cut deaths between the police and the community from officer-involved shootings by 50%. 50%.
I know.
By
It's
2023.
fantastic.
It is just unbelievable. And it takes all three of those pillars
It
and
does.
an entire community around it to achieve that. And so, so when we think about the mission that we have and what that means, at least to me personally, I mean, there's nothing that could resonate more with what I want to do with my life. And, having joined the Army, fresh out of college as a young lieutenant, having gone through ROTC and, really being in a unique wartime environment where all we really wanted to do was to protect the lives of the people around us and in the communities that we supported. It is just so neat to be able to carry that through into my career today.
Absolutely. And the mission, coupled with the people like yourself at Axon, you're leaving a legacy, right? This is legacy leaving activity. It really is, in terms of changing the way society functions and reducing, reducing obviously the incidents between the public and police officers, but it's just I can't wait to see you get there. I have a feeling it'll be before 2033. So
We're
we have people listening to this podcast and they're thinking, I want to be a part of this team. I want to be a part of this legacy that you're leaving, and I want to be a part of this mission. What types of careers are available? What are you hiring for right now?
Yeah, another great question. We have a lot of opportunities that we are hiring for now and into the future. We've grown a lot over the last couple of years, certainly significant growth since I've been here. And you might have skill sets in manufacturing or supply chain, maybe in quality. You might have skill sets with engineering, and whether that's mechanical or robotics, embedded software, or cloud-based software engineering. All of those things are on the table. We have lots of customer-facing roles, whether it be in sales or customer success, where they're helping customers through their journey. Regardless of the product, it might be something with program management, where we have these long, complex, I call them the 300 ring circus, programs, and the program manager gets to be the ringleader, and people who can be these trusted advisors who are really business analysts embedded with, understanding workflows of different agencies and how do they, derive the best outcome and configurations of some of our software tools. It might be as a subject matter expert in certain areas.
Mm.
The opportunities are just so broad that whatever your skill set is, whatever your background is, whether it comes from the law enforcement industry or from some other industry, I can assure you there are opportunities. I mean, just on my team alone, we have people that come from, I have a lot of folks that come out of the military or out of law enforcement, and then a lot of folks that come out of different industries that you would never associate. I mean, I have someone that just came to us from doing catering, but she worked in this technology piece, and she kind of like created this sort of technology niche for herself, and it was a great translation.
Wow, that's fantastic. So people shouldn't hesitate, right?
Absolutely not. If they feel like they want to be a part of a mission that is so incredibly big, right? Just something bigger than yourself and something that is going to be a legacy. This is the time to join. There's no better time, in my opinion, than to join Axon right now.
Absolutely. So we'll put the link in the comments to make sure that people that are interested can jump there and see what's available and apply. Tell us a little bit about what it's like working there. What's it like to work at Axon? You talked about the Netflix docu-series, which I would love to see, honestly. But what is it like to work there?
It is unlike any corporate environment I've ever been in. I'll actually back up a little bit. When I was in the Army a few years ago, a few more than a few years ago, one of the things that I loved so much about serving in the Army was that every day we woke up with this common goal, this common mission that we were going to come together and do, regardless of our backgrounds, regardless of our jobs. We had this common thing that we were working towards, and it was a really neat feeling to know that you were a part of something so much bigger than yourself. And I loved that. I just loved that about the Army. And when I got out and I went to the more corporate civilian side of the house, it was hard to find that. And what I found in a lot of places was that there were pockets of people that had a common goal, and we could work in those pockets together toward this common goal. But as a company, there were a lot of these sort of individual goals that people had, and that's not a bad thing. It's just different. It was different than what I was accustomed to. When I came to Axon a couple of years ago, it was almost immediately clear to me that no matter what your why is, everybody's waking up with this common goal, and we all wake it. Everyone can get behind protecting life. Everyone can get behind, reducing deaths related to officer-involved shootings, and that's bullets flying in all directions. We can all get behind that, and so
Right.
everybody wakes up every day, no matter what their job is, whether they're, on the R&D side, on the customer side, on the manufacturing side, and we know that we directly and specifically contribute to that. And it's such a different feeling, Christine. It's so different than anything I've ever seen in the corporate side. And I just love it because it brings me back to that. Why did I love the Army so much? And why did I love getting up and being with this group of people with different backgrounds and different whys for themselves of why they joined and why they were serving. And we were all in this together. So it is a very unique culture in that regard. And then you couple that with this other piece that I think is so fascinating. And so I've spent the last 2 years really trying to dissect and understand it. And I've broken it down to three things. So these are the three pillars of the stool for the culture at Axon, aside from waking up with this amazing common goal. And that is trust, respect, and empowerment.
Yes.
And what I've learned is that we respect the people and their backgrounds and whatever they're bringing to the table. We respect that. And so when they come into the role, they feel respected in that role. And so that builds that trust bond faster, right? So there's this trust between
Yes.
employee and manager, or employee and team and colleagues, because they feel respected. And so when you feel respected, then you build this trust bond. When that trust bond is there and people know that they're respected and they're trusted, and then they trust you, that's where people start to feel empowered. And when they feel empowered, then they go and they do these incredible things. And we're definitely more on the ask for forgiveness, not permission side of the house as a
Right?
culture. And it's great because we want people to have ideas of how we can do things better, how we can solve these incredible problem statements in a different way. And so we have this really cool, you know, stool with the three pillars of trust, respect, and empowerment that I think goes broadly across all the organizations. And that to me is the secret sauce. And that is top down. That starts with Rick Smith. He really started that. I don't know that he framed it in his mind that way when he built this company and this culture, but that's what it is. And to me, it is, again, something just so unique and wonderful to wake up and know that every day you're respected and trusted and empowered, regardless of your role in the organization.
Right. So, a couple things I wanted to pull out of what you said. All of what you said was just so important. Last week, I had an opportunity to attend 150th year anniversary of the International Association of Fire Chiefs, so
Ooh.
first responders. And part of my charge was to present at the diversity breakfast and share with them how they're already integrating diversity, equity, and inclusion into their culture without even realizing it. So when I listen to you, I feel very similar, because when you talk about respect and building trust amongst a very diverse population, right? You said it. People are coming from different backgrounds. People have different experiences. People have different career histories or education. You talked about the woman who was in catering, but she had developed this technology niche for herself. And it is embedded in your culture that diversity, equity, and inclusion is respected and appreciated, but it's built upon respect. And so a lot of times people, they get fatigued when they hear DE&I. And when I listen to you,
Yeah.
I'm reminded that honestly, a lot of organizations are integrating. We have a ways to go. I'm not discounting that. But
Mhm.
your culture has figured out how to integrate a lot of the principles into the day-to-day activities by using that foundation of respect. And so I commend you. And I can't wait for a docu-series, honestly. I think we need to.
I can't wait for it either. And we really do. I mean, we walk the walk with diversity and inclusion. And I agree. I think it can feel exhausting sometimes when you hear these, rhetoric.
Yes.
You just don't see, or you don't feel, the outcome of that. But, we've got 6 incredible affinity groups. We've hired a vice president now for diversity and inclusion. A lot of people don't have someone at that level, at that executive level, to really focus on that. And it is as important to us as anything else, because if people can come bringing their whole selves and they feel comfortable and respected and trusted in that environment, then
Yes.
it is, I mean, they will thrive. It's amazing to watch them
Yes.
thrive, and they can have all different backgrounds, which goes back to the common mission. I'm
Yes.
from any diverse background that you could possibly imagine, but we're all going to wake up at the same goal in the morning, and we're going to work together in a really cool way to get there.
Which is so exciting. So exciting. So if someone's interested, Amanda, what should they do first? How should they connect it? How can they connect to it?
Well, certainly they could go to our website, axon.com, and they can go to our jobs page. I encourage people to go, look at the opportunities that we have, and see where we've got things that fall into an area of their comfort, or if they want to stretch themselves and try something new and different. We do like taking big bets sometimes on people. It's a lot of fun to watch. But I also encourage people to go, do their homework on the company, because one thing that I've learned is that if you don't align with the values and the culture of a company, then it doesn't matter how great the company is or the individual is, they're just not going to mesh together. So go really look into it, and make sure that it aligns. And then, I think there's some great videos. You can go on YouTube and look for Axon the Ride. We've got this mini series that we created, and it really gives you a sense of the culture and what it's like in our organization. And then certainly go look up the moonshot, because the moonshot is the most significant thing that we'll do as a company. So go check those things out. And then if those all align, then, go apply for some jobs and see what's out there. And don't be afraid if you don't get the first one that you apply for. Just keep trying.
Right. Absolutely. Especially if the mission aligns with your values, right? If you're aligned so deeply with the values of Axon, I love what you said. Keep trying, right? Keep trying. Keep reaching out. That right position, will be there. So before we close, Amanda, who's your hero?
Oh, my hero. Well, I can tell you exactly who that is. His name is Jeffrey P. Kelly. He was at the time my lieutenant colonel, my battalion commander. He retired as a colonel, so I'll call him Colonel Jeffrey P. Kelly. And he is my forever hero. And I feel like there's a lot, I could probably say mom and dad, they're amazing. I have the best parents. And a lot of other people I could say are my heroes, and my Captain America husband. But the reason Jeffrey P. Kelly, I feel like I almost have to say his full name. The reason Jeff is my hero is because he taught me at this young, informative age, as a brand new second lieutenant, green as a dollar bill, in wartime army and in the middle of Iraq, what it meant to actually be a leader. And what that meant wasn't about knowing the best strategies. I mean, it helped. You should know how to fight a war. That certainly is helpful. But it was more about the people. And if you take care of the people, then everything else is going to fall into place. And he showed that in really neat ways. A super fast example. Right before we were deploying, he knew everybody by first name, which was like really impressive for the Army. He had roughly 450 people in his unit.
Wow.
And he made it a point to know their first name, which I thought was really impressive. In addition, he tried to understand things about their family dynamics, and he overheard a conversation that he wasn't a part of, but it was somewhere within earshot, about a sergeant that we had whose wife had some medical issues, and the hospital at Fort Campbell wasn't able to accommodate her needs. And it was, pretty serious. And this individual was supposed to deploy with us within a matter of just a few weeks. And so he made a phone call to Walter Reed Army Medical Center, had her on an airplane like within 2 days, and she got all the medical care she needed. And it was kind of a timing thing too. Timing was a little bit dicey for her. So, he just took that extra step that he didn't have to do. And he did it because he knew that, one, that soldier was going to be incredibly distracted if he was at war and didn't know if his wife was going to make it or not. Mm-hmm. There's no way he was going to have his head in the game. And then if he's distracted, he also knows that teams operate to the weakest link. And he didn't want this guy to become the weakest link to a point where it was going to put other people at risk. And so he had to take care of the people that were going to be on his left and his right. Mm-hmm. And so as long as his head was in the game, he knew he was going to be able to do that and do his part of that mission really well. And so what happened was he had a great deployment, a great tour. His wife was taken care of. She was okay. And that was just one small example. I have hundreds of examples that I saw over my time with him, serving under him, of that. And that made me realize that, people first. I mean, the mission's going to happen if you take care of the people first. And so he is my lifetime hero for that.
That's fantastic. Oh my goodness. I hope he writes a book. It would be phenomenal.
I actually was starting to write a book about him.
Oh my gosh.
I might publish it one of these days.
I'm encouraging you to do so, because we can never read enough books, honestly, I don't feel, on leadership, because it takes all different forms depending on the environment that you're in and what the call and the charge is, right? And so I'm going to encourage you to do that. But Dr. Amanda King, thank you so much for being with us today, for sharing about Axon, the mission, your leadership journey, and all the amazing careers that are available. And we'll have the links below in the comment section for people to connect, but just really appreciate you being with us today.
Christine, the pleasure was mine. Thank you so much.
Brightworks Consulting hosts this podcast and YouTube channel to spotlight the leadership around the world that is changing lives. Brightworks offers a myriad of consulting services in the public and private sector, to include diversity, equity, and inclusion solutions for any size company. You can find us at www.brightworksconsulting.com. We're honored to have Best Companies AZ as a presenting sponsor for this podcast. Best Companies AZ is your #1 source for regional employer branding. You can find them at www.bestcompaniesaz.com.